Okay, so I'm here on the very site of where the famous battle of Leonidas the 300 took place. I'm actually walking up a hill now. You probably won't be able to see behind me, but there's a statue of Leonidas there. And now I'm walking up the hill where they took the last stand against the Persian army. I haven't gone to the original battle sites first. So I've come here first to where they have the museum and everything. I went to the museum. It's a pretty cool little museum. They don't have any artifacts because the battle took place many years ago, 480 BC. So there's not many artifacts left here, although there is a archaeological site happening over there. I don't know if they're going to find anything. But now I'm going to go to where the first 2 days took place, just now. And right now, because I came to the museum first, this is where the final day of the battle took place. So this is where Leonidas was actually killed, him and his 300 other Spartans. I don't know how many were left on day 3. So I'm climbing up the hill here. You can imagine how it was back in the day when they were actually fighting the Persians. I don't know if, I suppose most people know the story of the 300. But what happened was King Xerxes, who took over from his father Darius I, Xerxes had collected a massive army of, some people say over 1 million troops, others say there were only 150,000, and he was moving through Greece. He had already had many of the other kings sort of bow down to him and surrender. But when he got to Sparta, we all know what happened then. He sent one of the emissaries, and King Leonidas basically said, come on, have a go if you think you're hard enough. So yeah, Leonidas refused to bend the knee, and he killed Xerxes' messenger. I'm not sure if he kicked him down a well, but very possible. And then Xerxes moved in with his, was that 1 million troops, why not? And he was met by a force of 300 Spartans, along with 7,000 other thespians, I think. I'm not sure what the correct term is, that were fighting alongside Leonidas. But the reason why the 300 became so important is what happened on the final day. So during the battle, King Xerxes literally sent wave after wave of men against the 300 plus the other 7,000. So I'd say 10,000 men against 1 million. So yeah, the odds were not in their favor. And they kept pushing them back because they were fighting in a narrow passageway. They were able to do it. Okay, a whole bunch of tourists coming, so I'm going to keep walking. So yeah, and then on the final day, Leonidas was betrayed, and the Persians were able to get sort of behind him, and so he was going to be attacked from all sides. And as soon as he realized this, he said to the other Greeks who had joined him, the other 7,000, he says, okay, you guys need to go home. We'll stay here and fight for as long as possible. I'm assuming probably to give them time to get home, or to get far enough away so the Persian army wouldn't overrun them. Because if they'd all decided just to leave, and yeah, then obviously the Persians would have hunted them all down and killed them. So Leonidas actually sacrificed himself and his men to give the other guys a chance to get away and to hold back the Persian army for a bit longer. He was also trying to hold them back because back in Athens they're busy building ships to actually come up from, well, I suppose Athens side, to come up to attack the Persians, or to hold the Persians off. And yeah, so Leonidas and his men had one last stand on top of that hill I was just on, and unfortunately Leonidas was killed, and his men not soon far behind him. And what happened was the Persian army actually just held back a bit and just sent wave after wave of arrows firing into them while they sort of were on top of that little hill. Shame. I'm now about to go across the road to the other side where the actual statue of Leonidas is. It's actually quite cool here. So this is actually like a pathway to somewhere. I'm not sure where I'm going. Okay, so I'm going to head back to where the statue of Leonidas is. Okay, so this is the hill. I'll try and give you a bit of a perspective. But you have to remember that all of this would have been still underwater. The sea's actually retreated quite a fair bit. And yeah, so that's just where they took their last stand, on top of that hill there. The Persians would have been standing over here and just in volley and volley of arrows until all the Spartans were basically massacred. Because when you're having that many troops against so few people, yeah. Okay, so now I'm walking down the hill to where they have a beautiful statue of King Leonidas, and then after this I'm actually going to go to where the first 2 days of battle took place. Apparently there's some hot springs there that you can actually swim in if you're brave enough, because the hot springs come with sulfur and bacteria, and so I'm not sure if I'm going to be swimming in them, but we'll see. Okay, so yeah, they're busy redoing this whole area here. Obviously it's very well, very much a tourist site now because of the movies and the legend of the 300. The 300 Spartans are actually chosen, the 300 were all fathers. It was quite interesting because they wanted their progeny, their kids obviously, to live on. So if they hadn't had a child, they weren't chosen to be part of the 300. And Spartan warriors are trained pretty much from birth to be the warriors that they are. And they are put through incredibly trials and warfare from a very young age in order to become a Spartan. Okay, here we go. Made it across the road to start getting run over. Okay, now here's the statue of King Leonidas. Got some tourists there taking selfies and photos and everything. So there we go. King Leonidas, big statue. He wouldn't have looked like that during war. There's no way they would have left him naked in there. I'll try and get a little bit closer once they've sort of moved on. They're probably all taking selfies and everything. Okay, so here's the statue, King Leonidas. That's pretty cool. So Leonidas with his spear, his shield, and his sword. That's what they had to fight off these Persians, were their metal spear, metal sword, and a shield made out of copper. And the armor was also made out of copper, so not very tough metal. But still, it obviously worked because they managed to keep the Persian army at bay for 3 days. And you can imagine, that's like, okay, just say there were only 150,000 Persians, right? That's, well, a lot of people. So like 3 stadiums against what, 10,000 people. I mean, wow. But the Spartans were fighting for something greater than what the Persians were fighting for. The Persian army was just told, okay, you need to fight for this, whatever. They weren't protecting their homes, their livelihoods, their way of life, whereas the Spartans were. There's that saying that society collapses when good men stand around and do nothing, and that's what was happening. The other kings were like, oh well, you know, Xerxes is too big, we'll just capitulate and fall down on our knees and be like, oh no, go ahead, we'll change our way of life, our religion, the way we live. Whereas the Spartans, or King Leonidas, was like, oh hell no, I refuse to acknowledge you as anything. So yeah, I'm going to kick your messenger down a well, and yeah, you're going to meet us on the road, and we will literally fight to the death to protect our way of life. I don't know, in the world around us that seems to be happening quite a bit. People are just sitting back and watching and filming bad things happening without doing anything about it. So yeah, there's another little memorial over here. I'm not sure what this is for. So this is on the same place as where they have the Leonidas, but this is for something totally different. This is for a battle that took place in 1941 between the Germans, the Italians, the British, the Australians and New Zealanders. So I'll quickly film that and probably do another video on that one. So now I'm going to head off to where the days 1 and 2 of the battles took place. Yeah, you can actually see that's where the people are walking up there. That's where the final stand took place for King Leonidas. That's where he passed away, or was slaughtered by the Persian arrows that flew over in waves and waves, and very tragic ending. I'm not sure what Leonidas would have actually said to his men in order to get them to have that last stand, but I think the men didn't even need encouragement. I think that's what they were, well, born to do, to protect their countries with their lives. That's what most soldiers are born to protect their country. Although the Persian army was something different. I think it was made up by a lot of different races and nationalities. They had no I'm not sure what the right word would be. They had no reason to put their lives on the line for anything other than they were being told to, whereas Spartans, very different. Okay, I'm heading off to the next spot.